What's up guys, Luke here from Luke's Points and Miles, and I just got back from my secret father-son trip in Panama City, Panama, and I wanted to do a quick trip review, and I wanted to talk about the credit cards I actually used in Latin America. And I really only used a 3-card combo. Let me talk a little bit about the trip first, and then I'll do a breakdown of which cards I took with me and why. First off, the secret part. I didn't talk much about the location for this one on my channel because, well, it was a secret from my dad. My dad doesn't exactly watch my channel, but you know, you can never be too careful. My dad is 70 and doesn't really travel, and he's had some ups and downs in the last year or so. So I figured, hey, let's take him somewhere where he can have some fun and have somewhat of a unique experience. The last trip I took him on was to a football game in Miami, and while Miami is awesome, that trip was mostly the pool and the beach at the hotel. That's great, but I wanted to go somewhere where I felt like we could learn something and experience a different culture and see some things maybe we haven't seen before. But there was a catch. I didn't tell him where we were going. I told him to pack light, bring swimwear, and leave your expectations at home. And I chose Panama, but why? Well, do you guys have places to visit on your list for basically no real reason? I do, but there was another reason. My dad was in the Army in the 70s and did his jungle expert training in Panama, and apparently that is a fairly arduous, miserable experience for most people. I thought, how cool would it be to return 50 years later to see things from a completely different perspective? So I figured that was enough of a wild card to make Panama the right choice. Have I ever experienced Latin America? No, not really. The resorts of Mexico probably don't count. And from what I understand, Mexico and Panama were completely different anyway. So I booked the trip all cash, which is also very uncharacteristic of me. I just always have this nagging feeling that my points and my miles are for my wife and son, and I didn't really want to use any family resources. So I used the money from my businesses to fund the trip, which actually includes first class on United down to Panama City and first class flights back on American Airlines. The only real expense of note was when I was actually able to use the $100 credit on the City Premier card. It's the hotel credit you receive when you book a hotel through their portal for at least $500. This one came out to be like $534, and the credit was immediately triggered when I booked it. Kind of sort of mitigating the City Premier's $95 annual fee. Now, if you follow the channel, you may know that when I book a trip, I book and cancel several times before I stay with any option. I had previously booked the Intercontinental with cash, including a free night, the Waldorf Astoria on points, and a choice property called the El Panama that was actually going to be the presidential suite on choice points. I had also booked us 2 rooms at the Holiday Inn on points, which would have included 2 free nights. And now in retrospect, I think all those choices would have been better, but hey, hindsight and all that. We ended up at the AC Marriott and it was fine. So with the normal bookings out of the way, I did also book tours and excursion through Viator via the American Airlines shopping portal, of course. So I will also include the card I used for that since it seems relevant to this whole thing. So 3 cards for the whole trip. Do me a favor, if you are able to, pause the video right here and comment your 3 guesses below. I'm actually very curious if my 3 cards are obvious to everyone. So here goes. The first card I brought would be my catch-all card. But what do we need in a general purpose catch-all in Latin America? First off, gotta have no foreign transaction fees, right? I'm not going to pay 3% on top of my regular expenses. This is a budget trip for the most part. Second, we need worldwide acceptance. I don't speak Spanish and I don't want to listen to "we don't take Amex" over and over again in a language I don't understand. Sorry Amex fanboys, but I didn't even take an Amex with me. No, not even the Platinum card. That is likely going away later this year. I didn't need it for the lounges we visited, which, by the way, were the United Club Lounge in Houston, the Copa Lounge in Panama, and the Turkish Airways Lounge in Miami, which was terrible. Moving along, it should be no surprise that I brought my Capital One Venture X as my catch-all card. 2 times Capital One miles on everything. It's a Visa Infinite, and it has a high enough limit to bond my dad out of really any Panama jail if I need to. I'm not going to give you a full review on any of these cards because I have those on my channel already. But the Capital One Venture X is the center of my setup now. It has so many ways to get value, from primary car rental insurance to priority pass, lounge access, as well as Capital One lounges, which while we didn't get a chance to visit any of those on this trip, I still think those are some of the best lounges in the United States. And one thing some folks may forget is the Venture X also gives you that TSA PreCheck global entry credit. And I've heard some folks talk about lately how much of a pain in the butt global entry is to get. First off, nieces and nephews, global entries include PreCheck. So go the extra mile and get it. Second, while it surely is a pain, it is worth it. Imagine seeing hundreds of people going through customs at Miami International, and you have a connecting flight you have to get to. I really did walk past the whole line, have my picture taken, and 4 seconds later, I was walking on the next flight. Seriously, get the global entry. It is worth the trouble. On a side note, you guys know I love Miami and South Florida in general, but I'm going to say this. Miami International by far has the rudest TSA workers that I've ever experienced. Maybe it was the long travel day, but I had to make sure I didn't get myself into trouble because I'm just not used to folks talking to me that way. But I do understand it's a tough job and it's a big airport with many languages and cultures. But hey, I said what I said. It's the worst. Now, what are likely your main expenses while traveling? That should be an easy answer, dining. But with the requirements previously stated, I can't bring my American Express Gold Card, can I? Nope. The best card for this trip was the Capital One Saver One. No foreign transaction fees, obviously, but the card in a roundabout way earns 3 times Capital One miles on dining. But that's not all. We had a little convenience store in our neighborhood that I thought might code as grocery store, and it did. See, the Saver One also gets 3 times on groceries worldwide, not just US supermarkets. The card also has a 3 times on entertainment, which came in handy for our tickets to the Panama Canal. I'm honestly impressed with the versatility of this Saver One, especially for traveling. No annual fee, no foreign transaction fees, and 3 common traveler categories made this the perfect choice for sure. Also guys, this is a great time for a shameless plug. I have my referral links for all these cards in the description below. If you use those links, it directly supports the channel and it allows me to give you mostly sponsor-free content. Oh, and by the way, your uncle did order some Uber Eats while we were there just to take advantage of the 10 times Capital One miles on that purchase. See, we pushed the pace so hard, we needed to order in one night because we were just too tired to even go to dinner. The third card might be a head scratcher right now. First, I'm going to list what I purchased with it, and then we'll see how close you are to guessing. First thing I purchased was all the excursions on Viator via the American Airlines shopping portal. These tours included a tour of Panama City, including the Panama Canal, which if you are thinking about skipping, don't. The Panama Canal is amazing, and it's such a huge part of the history of Panama and really the entire world. I was amazed by how significant that canal is to so many different aspects of human life. Seriously, go and see it and get the history lesson. It's unreal. This card also purchased our Uber rides to and from the airport and the subway train ticket we rode to explore the city. So if you're guessing this is a card with a general travel category, you're right. I used the Chase Ink Preferred for all those purchases to get 3 times Chase UR points. It was also on standby for any kind of emergency travel because, hey, you never know. How did the trip go? Well, as I said earlier, I didn't have any experience, for the most part, in Latin America, at least not that far south. This trip really did open my eyes to another awesome part of the world left for me to explore. We visited an indigenous village, explored islands, and this included experiences on the Pacific coast all the way to the Caribbean Sea, all in just a few short days. We packed a ton of stuff in this trip, and all I can say is I can't wait to visit more countries in Central and South America. The other tourists we met all really highly recommended Honduras and Guatemala, so that's what I'm kind of researching now. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching the video. If you liked it, please hit that thumbs up button. And if you want regular credit card and travel content, consider subscribing. Also, I would love to hear your experience in Latin America in the comments below. And if you've stayed all the way to the end, I appreciate you, and I thank every single one of you.